time for another round of Brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Reilly Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Today we're talking about something that's it's a little more in depth. It's a little more about kind of social psychology and status signaling and all that and how it relates to brands. So we're going to dive in first with talking about status and kind of the social orientation of that. So we're all part of social groups. That's part of just who we are as humans. If we can just kind of all agree on that.
Think back to your days in fourth grade.
On the playground, you had cliques, you had different groups.
Yeah.
You had
the workplace, even among same level employees, you're going to have little cliques.
That's just who humans are. You can deny it. You can do whatever you want.
I don't see anybody that can deny it. They know it's true. They know it's true.
Deep down inside. And so then going, okay, so within all these social groups, you do have a pecking order, you have status, you have these things that play a role, and that's how we kind of make sense of things. That's how we make sense of the world, is that we go, okay, this is my part in this role in my group.
Well, our brain needs to organize all data, and the social community groups of people around us need to be organized as well, mentally, you know?
Right. It's like complex and simple at the same time. It's really... To me, it's interesting. So then if we can boil everything down to, okay, we have these social decisions. And so how brands play a role in that, in these social decisions of us going, okay, if I buy brand X or I drive brand Y, what does that mean for not only me internally and my how I see myself, but also how other people see me and my peers in the social group that I care about.
The brands that are important to you, what does that signal to the people around you? Either the people that are the closest to you, and maybe the people that are, on the outskirts or don't know you or on the opposite side of the fence. How about that?
Yeah. And then that comes down to going, okay, you're either aligning with,
a social group.
Not a social norm, but like a social agreement.
Status.
Yeah, status or going, hey, this is who we are. Kind of like we talked about before, is like that Seth Godin quote of people like us do things like this.
Right. Well, let's debunk too the first association. If we start talking about social statuses, I think the first thing that comes to mind is rich versus poor, wealth versus the wealth of those and those without. And so that's where we come up with the status, because that's how society, you look at like Victorian society back in the early 19th century or whatever before that, where it was like the super rich. And then you were the super poor. There was no middle class. It was upper class and lower class.
The lords and
that was status in society.
Right. So then if we're boiling it down, where status signaling isn't just about, luxury versus,
not luxury
or like affordable. And we can go, okay, it's not about that, but it's about your status within this social kind of confines of how we live and the associations with that. There's a funny... I was actually listening to Rory Sutherland, and he was talking about how he's like, he's the ad guy from Ogilvy, which is a global ad agency. And he's talking about how he never drove an Audi. Is that he's like, okay, when people look at me, he's like, I deal with a lot with marketing, with kind of heady, some financial things, economics, a lot of marketing and psychology. And he's like, if I drove an Audi, and he's a British guy, so he's like, if I drove an Audi and drove around, he's like, I would look like one of those financial pricks from Wall Street when I'd pull up, because that aligns with what he talks about. So he's like, I had to compensate for what I talk about by driving something that's a little more characterized, like a Mini Cooper or something that's a little more.
So in this case, that was an example of him rebelling against one brand, Audi, because he associates Audi with this type of people that he personally does not want to associate himself with.
Yeah. And he's hyper aware because he's all about behavioral economics and he thinks that way. So he's balancing his personal brand in a way to help with the perception. But I do believe that we all make these decisions subconsciously while we are purchasing certain things. And yes, there's social pressures or social kind of currents with the flow that we feel, and we go, oh no, I can't go eat at that restaurant because I'll look a certain way, and I don't align with those people in that restaurant. I'm not whether it is high class, low class, or just a certain type of food group, whether it is, I don't go to fast food, or I go to more the organic place or whatever it is.
So I think fashion is a great example of that. How I personally, my style choice is different than Reilly's, right? So there's right there, maybe we are very much alike in that way, or maybe we aren't. But we have other things in common. So again, you've got things where, let's say you hang out with a certain group of people that just you guys all have a lot of similar interests and stuff. I'll bet you, let's say just take the closest 12 people to you. You don't all dress exactly the same.
Yeah. And I think you see that across all kinds of just like social groups, whether it's shoes, whether it's accessories, whether it's vehicles, whether it's just the food you eat, anything like that. So going, okay, well, how do brands connect with that? And like Scott was saying with fashion, it's like you have these things that signal kind of externally, and a brand is almost this interesting kind of shortcut to that, where the brand, we have so many associations with brands, whether I say Levi's or I say Apple or I say Dr. Pepper or anything like that. It's like you have associations with those brands automatically. And so when we are either consuming that in public or even just at home in private, it's like we are signaling to ourselves and externally of, hey, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. I align with this. Or by choosing not to do that, you get a rebellion. And that's actually how the Pabst Blue Ribbon kind of blew up, is that was the no man's beer, kind of indie beer. And, you know, big beer was blowing up. And then you had the younger generation who started rebelling against that, not aligning with big beer. And they started drinking Pabst Blue. And it was like the crappy beer. So then it was like, oh, well, now it's cool. Now it's what we drink, and it's the rebellion. And that you can see that play out a lot in a lot of brands, everything from like Apple to even like Nothing, that one phone company I've talked about before. They're kind of doing this rebellion now and kind of pushing against Apple and starting that narrative. And so the point here is that as humans, yes, brands do serve a purpose, is that they deliver an offering, a service, a good, something that benefits the customer. But on top of that, it's like we use them as social currency to help with our own status signaling.
And when you mean currency, it's more like you use it as leverage or as things, because there's no real social transaction happening, but it's more like you're building the argument for you having a taller podium among your status.
Right. Because in like social, it's going, okay, if we're all agreeing to one thing, and that could be, oh, we all align and agree to these terms, or we're all rebelling against this, whoever is the most in line with that wins. And so then if I can signal different with brands or the car I drive or the devices I use, if I can show more of that, then that makes me more on point with what that social group is wanting. So then that gives you more clout, right, in the social realm.
It is. All the decisions we make with brands are going to align with this kind of like allegiance. Like, you know, we put a stake in the sand and we're picking sides.
As humans, like, again, we're trying to bucket things and create differences. I think this is why we have like a two-party system in America too, is that we've tried to, as complicated as all these subjects and topics of politics are, we've tried to go, tried to go, well, it fits in two buckets neatly. And it's like, no, it doesn't. That's
either
completely
left or right, red or blue. No, it's like, no, there's a lot of gray. It's not black and white. I mean, every issue has solutions and problems on both sides, and there's stuff in between that, you know?
Well, and I think that's part of it, is that then we go, oh, whether it is AI or any topic, then we go, oh, there must be a true or false. There must be a right or left. There's a right or wrong. There's this or that. And it's going, no, there's actually a spectrum of things that we can choose from and align with and actually create more interesting solutions, better solutions, more accurate solutions. And so with brands, we can do that by kind of signaling with even multiple brands. Is that if we go, oh, I drive this kind of car, but then I wear this, and I choose not to wear I don't know, a wristwatch or something, because in man world, a wristwatch signals something, right? It's like you see guys with Rolexes and yada, 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 and it's a certain type of personality that does that. And they feel the need to do that. I don't know why, but they want to do that. Or someone who wears an Apple Watch, they're trying to signal something too. It's like they're trying to show they're a little techie, they're trying to show they're a little like this or that. Right, yeah. And it's like, and it's all these things are being used and they're balancing each other. And I think there's just something for us to be aware of not only the brands that we consume and that we kind of align with, but by doing so, we are also rebelling against certain other brands. And I've thought about some examples of even like Levi's versus Wranglers. And from my observations is that Levi's is almost like the urban cowboy, like commercialized. The
commercialized denim, right?
Right,
it is. And then, I mean, and it's no less Americana than Wrangler, right? Because Bruce Springsteen was wearing Levi's on the very famous cover with just his butt on the cover, an American flag for Born in the USA, a very famous 80s album cover. And that was a pair of Levi's. It wasn't Wranglers, but Wranglers that's the hard, that's like the farmer, the working, the working country, choice for those. And again, I love brand associations that are secondary or tertiary associations with the customer. I feel like those are so powerful because you find ways to align with the customer on various things in their life that they are emotionally connected to. I go back to the thing of like, you could have nothing to do with selling pet products, but if somehow you're anchoring the love of pets to your brand in some way whatsoever, that's going to resonate with all the pet owners. It is people that have pets are that's one notch of, ooh, we're on the same page. Yeah. That association.
That's why actually apartments.com, they used cats in their marketing for a campaign because they wanted to align more with progressive thinkers and the left in America. And statistically, progressives will have cats as pets. And so they did a whole campaign and they're using cats.
Well, this goes back to
and it actually,
I don't know how many hardworking farm cats there are. You know what I'm saying? It's that the dog owners out there are, they're the ones that there's a whole breeds for working dogs.
It's fascinating to think like how something like that could, because again, apartments are more in urbanized areas, and that's where you're going to find more of progressive thinkers.
It's easier to have cats for indoor apartments than dog.
And so then there's that shortcut right there from the brand's perspective to go, oh, we'll signal cats, right? And boom, right away alignment showing, oh, hey, cat, you like a cat? You have a cat? We like cats.
Again, is that perception of, hey, I align with apartments.com because of this and I'm this, and so other people around you are going to go, oh,
Yeah, and again, even with the social, it's like you still have the internal narrative that's running in the background too. Of even if in that example, someone going, I'm a cat owner, I care about my cat. Oh, there's a brand that's offering a solution to my apartment needs, my apartment hunt, and they align with cats. Oh, so I'm a cat person, so I go with the cat. The cat alignment.
Without any brand engagement, there's already probably a higher level of trust because you're like, oh, well, I'm sure they're a legit company. I'm sure the great service or the product is great, whatever it is, because they love cats.
Yeah, and even you think about another brand that has blown up is Farmer's Dog. You think the naming convention is by accident, but when you think about like Farmer's Dog and fresh food for your dog,
fresh
like
fresh dog,
it's spot on to what statistics and like what's out there, what the information that we have and the different lifestyles. So it's interesting to think about kind of the social realm of this, and it's not like about peer pressure. It's not about these different things, but just our natural inclination as humans to put everything in a social context. If you are aligning with something or rebelling against something, is that if we are dividing things into two camps on a very basic level, and that's very broad brush, but you look at even like Apple's campaign of rebelling against the Big Brother-esque PC of the 80s. And then even now PC users will sometimes rebel against Apple being, oh, Apple's cult-like or Apple's this or that. And then they're also flexing their intelligence and their expertise in being able to modify their computers or use it for certain
It's interesting because you brought up the good point of just how with the brand signaling status signaling through brand, how I'm going to choose this brand because it's kind of the opposite of this. If you don't want to support that brand, you want to go the other. And I would say an extremity of that, where we see brand in a social construct of really trying to really emphasize this, would be boycotting.
Yeah.
When someone's because I'm not going to shop at whether it's Target or I'm not going to shop at TJ Maxx or whatever it is, the people that are taking that anti-approach in brand as a social currency is it probably found in its most heightened form, and that's in the public outcry of boycotting.
Yeah, it's like using the brand in the reverse, where now instead of just not engaging with the brand, now you're actively disengaging. Now you're trying to get other people to disengage, and you're out there with whatever picket signs or petitions or something.
Trying to lead the pack of your social group through your social status.
Yeah. And my personal view on this is that this all comes down to ego in some way where, I'm signaling my personal worth, maybe to yourself, maybe to what your parents told you when you were little, or that's some deficit you have, or to the social group for approval. And you're just trying to go, no, I'm the most this way. No. I know you are, but hey, I'm much more that way.
If you don't want to shop there, don't shop there.
Yeah. And I feel like that, again, when you take your brand and view it in the sense of social context, because if everything comes down to services, offerings, goods, and if that's all you're offering, then there's a problem, because you're going to be replaced, because there are layers to these decisions, and there's layers to us as humans, and going, no, we are social creatures, and we are looking at things through that lens and going, okay, if I do go to that restaurant, or I shop there, or I buy that product, or I use that service provider, what does that make us look like? Does that make us look more, techie and advanced, or does that make us look more old school, or whatever it is? Like, you have to kind of think about it. Speaking of Apple Watches, I actually, it's become actually now a personal credo. Is that what you call it? Is that I don't wear an Apple Watch.
Just a
personal creed.
Credo? No, creed. I think personal creed.
Because
declaration. Yeah.
I've had some people go, "Wow, Reilly, you don't have an Apple Watch." And so the more people say that, actually makes me not want to wear it one more, because I don't.
I'm one of the first ones there, dude. We've been working here for 8 years, and I've always to this day gone, dude. My wife has an Apple Watch. How do you not
have an Apple Watch?
My wife has it. I don't have one. My wife has one, but I just expect you to have one.
But it's kind of nice because it's a bit of a curveball. It's like I'd much rather wear.
Actually, don't wear a watch at all. You just probably look at
my wrists are completely naked. They are in the nude.
You're probably you're the cell phone guy. That's your clock. Your gauge of the time is glance at your cell phone.
I did see one watch recently though that caught my attention. It's called the slow clock, or the slow watch, and it's a 24-hour watch, normal hands going around, and has 24 hours on it. And so the minutes are small. You're going to ballpark the minutes, but it has 24 hours on it.
So it gives you an approximation?
Yeah, and so it's 0 to 24, but they found that it actually slows down, because right now we're looking at every single minute changing, and we're tracking that, and it actually slows down time, the perception of time, because you're looking at everything.
See, now that's the watch I could see you getting. That's the watch I could see you getting, just for the randomness. It's so out there and distinct.
Yeah,
you'd be like, that's the brand for me.
And actually, that's another social signaling that I've seen, is that people who use military time, they like to make everyone know that they are on military time,
or that they use it.
Yeah. Is that,
or
they'll be like, 1400.
You should be using it.
Yeah. I've had multiple people where they're not even in the military, but they like to make a point in having everyone share. So that's, you look at these things where it's like social currency, right? Where they're trying to prove something or proclaim something. And if you just observe and watch people and see the things that they make points about, whether it's what they wear, tattoo they get, the device they use, and you can see what matters to them and what they really care about. So if you watch your customers, watch what they say on Instagram, watch what they post about, and you can kind of learn what they,
you get inside their head. Yeah, that's a great point. The more you observe your customers, and that's why we a lot of times when we've talked about brand and strategy, it all comes back to the better you know the type of person that you want to sell to.
Yeah.
Again, it's not about who you have right now. Who do you want to sell to?
Yeah. Actually, if you want to gain social clout in with your colleagues, with your boss, or whoever, you should send them this episode. Or better yet, go to Amazon and search Brandy and buy a copy of the award-winning book, Brandy.
Are you doing a shameless plug?
And be seen reading it at a coffee shop or something.
I'm sorry. I
you
would
instantly gain social clout.
I've tried. I can't.
All right. Well,
I think you've heard enough of us today, guys. We appreciate you listening, as always.
Until next time.
Cheers.